How's it going, everybody? We're at AHR in Chicago 2024, and I'm here with Nimbus. They've actually got a pretty interesting concept. So I've seen a few of these evaporative type systems over time, and there's an actual term I'm learning while I'm here. Is
Adiabatic.
there you go, that one. So I'm very fascinated by this technology, and I'd like to see it succeed overall, but we've had a lot of challenges from the field side. So one of the big things I've seen with it is a lot of mud issues, scaling issues. I notice you don't have any kind of screens or media filters, things of that nature. So
Right.
if you would, kind of walk us through what your overall operating process is with this.
Right. So I guess I'd step back a little bit and say that adiabatic's been around a long time. And what people have done for the last 10, 15, 20 years is use dry air coolers and try to utilize that throughout the year. But there's times when you come to the peak days in the summer where it's too hot. Dry air coolers can't hit that set point temperature, leaving fluid temperature coming out. So what the owners would do, they'd put spray on it, water, like watering their lawn, put it on it, and it does similar, more like a fluid cooler effect, but not a true adiabatic effect. The problem with doing that is the coils and fins are not prepared for that city water to be sprayed on it, so it's going to degrade very rapidly, and it's a pretty common thing in the industry. So adiabatic has come along, and we've tweaked the design of a dry air cooler so that you can get lower leaving fluid temperatures, have a lower set point, but you can maintain the integrity of the equipment and minimize the maintenance that you'll have to do over time because it has specific traits built into it. Yeah.
So what are the primary target regions you're currently trying to hit with this particular design?
Well, in theory, it works in very hot and dry environments because we're going to get good evaporation. So how this works is basically it'll run as a dry cooler for as long as it can where it's installed. It'll cycle the fans on and off as needed to meet the leaving fluid temperature. However, it'll get to a point where we can't meet that hypothetical 85 leaving fluid temperature. The fans will be on full speed. That's when we'll use water to get evaporation to cool down that air to get that extra heat rejection boost, basically.
So how have you managed, because you're direct misting straight to the coil,
Right.
right? And I've heard a couple of theories. There's one manufacturer that, they say they mist away from it and let it pull back in,
Right.
but they only allow so many hours annually, for their design conditions, right? So
Right.
what have you tried to do to overcome the coil problem?
Sure. It's actually a multi-level approach to minimizing the maintenance on the fins and coils and the potential buildup. So it really starts with making sure or checking with local water quality, check out what exactly that is, and if we need to soften the water, because calcium buildup would be the main negative that you could get from that we would be looking for. If we need to mitigate the water and soften it, we'll recommend that and do that. However, there are some variables that go into how we decide to make that decision. One is the geographic area, which you alluded to, because that will directly affect how many hours that we'll utilize spray throughout the year. We have these installed pretty much all over the U.S., probably significantly less in more humid environments, so the Southeast, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to interject more water into the air to get evaporation on those hot design days. And when it's already humid as all get out, it's going to be very difficult to add more water to the air, cool the air, and get that heat rejection. So to your question, East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, even in the hot Vegas and Arizona, New Mexico are very good places, but they all offer certain challenges that go along with that. The fans are cycling on. We're trying to hit that 85 leaving fluid temperature. They're on full speed. We're not making that 85. We're starting to creep above that 85 leaving fluid temperature. That's when the spray bars will come on, okay? And initially what we had with our particular system, we had 4 bars that come on all at the same time. Worked great for us, but what we found is there was a way to conserve that water and not see as much excess water that does not get evaporated come off. So we went to a more staged approach where we bring on 1 bar at a time, monitor the leaving fluid temperature, and if we need to, we'll bring on another bar and another bar and another bar. So that actually saves significant amount of water right there unto itself. And that goes directly to the maintenance, your underlying question, the maintenance on the unit itself. If we're using less water, less buildup, less degradation of nozzles, less maintenance over time, it's going to lower that in a very significant way. Also, going along with that, what we do with our fins and coils, we coat them with a special coating that helps repel the water and protect it in salt environments, and that is a significant component to the adiabatic process to minimize buildup on the fin face and coil.
Well, so on that coating, so a lot of the manufacturers that put coatings on, one of the first things they tell you is you can't use any kind of a chemical cleaner.
Right.
Is yours the same way where it's just strictly water only if we do clean it?
We can use some specific chemical cleaners on them, but there's some specifics. I just can't remember exactly I think we have a couple that we recommend. First line of defense, though, is use a soft bristle brush with the grain to knock the calcium off. And typically, if you get out ahead of that, don't let it go for a couple years, you're fine. But people do that, and there's going to be calcium buildup. There's no doubt about it. The other thing that goes along with the calcium buildup is how much you're spraying throughout the year. Are you in Ohio, where you may be spraying anywhere from 400 to 600 hours a year, which is a small portion of the year, 6-7% of the year, whatever it is, or are you out in Las Vegas where you're spraying 3,000 hours a year? So, and that's going to go also directly to what you would see as potential buildup, calcium buildup on the fin face and coil, because you're just utilizing a lot less water or a lot more water.
And so you actually feel comfortable saying that, because other manufacturers don't, that running 2,000 to 3,000 hours on an annual with maintenance, is a big,
Sure.
but that y'all are actually, your system's actually able to competently handle that without needing excessive maintenance. 'Cause that's the other trade-off, right? Is
Right.
more hours means more maintenance, right?
Right. It's going to need more maintenance. There's no question. And in those environments, we would highly recommend a softener.
Okay.
There's no question about that. And anybody in those environments would say you're crazy if you don't use a softener. What you'll get is with this, it'll be a smaller use of water on a per minute basis as compared to, say, an open or enclosed tower.
Yeah.
Some of our largest units, they're going to be 10 gallons or less a minute.
Right.
So you won't need as large a softener. And that's going to help out tremendously with the maintenance, the potential buildup on the fin face and coil. The other thing is we could spread out the fins as well. We offer 8 to 14 fins per inch. Your machine's going to grow if we put it at a bare minimum of 8 fins per inch. So, yeah.
Well, so with that, when I look at something like this, I'm thinking of the applications where we say you got a small condenser water loop with water source heat pumps, or heck, even a water-cooled VRF system. Those are starting to become more popular and being looked at, and especially on these smaller applications. I hate seeing those little small cooling towers. I'm not a huge fan of towers and the whole basin setup, and just there's a lot of health risks, there's a lot of maintenance, granted, but that's the trade-off with this is we've got some towers that we literally have to get in with a shovel because we have so much dust. And when I've seen evaporative systems or adiabatic
Right.
systems implemented in my area, so Central Texas specifically, uh, they become a really good dust filter. And we have a tremendous amount of dust, especially we have a lot of construction, but it's a hot, it's a mostly humid. So I'd say in the summertime, 60 to 80% is not uncommon,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then we have just a lot of air movement, which brings a lot of dust and stuff. And
Sure.
we're right there on that climate break into more of the West Texas climate, but still somewhat of the coastal climate. So I know mine may not be the best example, but what would be your thoughts, at least on helping manage that dust and that mud?
Right. Well, that's a certain amount of states in the United States is going to have that issue. There's no doubt about it, particularly the Southwest. There's a couple different things you can do with that. As I mentioned before, you can widen the gap between the fins. It's going to make the machine get bigger, less chance that over time the dust, the sand, the dirt, whatever, can totally clog between the fin face. It'll require more maintenance. We also have what we call a debris screen we buy from a third party that can help with some of the larger stuff, cottonwoods and leaves and this and that. It's basically a shroud across this, so you can still use the adiabatic effect, but it will catch a lot of that, and it'll catch some of that dust, sand, dirt. That's a tough thing. The other thing that you can do is if you can strategically place the cooler somewhere around the building where it's getting less exposure to the prevailing wind, that might be a recommendation as well. So admittedly, we have a number of installs in Texas, and I was talking to one of our maintenance people earlier, and he mentioned that that was the specific issue at one of those locations. So it was a foundry location. So
With that one, was there a resolution without having to go back and start over, right? Was there a resolution y'all were able to provide that to at least help? Maybe it could have. It was, we all go through learning lessons. That's the whole point of this. That's one thing I want y'all to understand is like we as the field have to do something to take a voice in this process, especially like we're the ones seeing the day to day. So what were you able to do without just changing it out?
I think in this particular scenario, maintenance was part of the problem. Let's put it that way, or lack thereof.
Right.
So we did put debris screens on it. We recommended more annual maintenance to it. And we also recommended, in this particular situation, we could put a barrier fence, if you will, at a certain distance away that the unit could still breathe, but hope to protect it a little bit from the wind and the possible elements. Okay. So this was in the past year, so we're still evaluating the results on that.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. It makes a lot of sense. I get it. Awesome. Well, with that, appreciate your time.
Sure.
Check this stuff out. These are things to be paying attention to. I've been watching this technology as a whole start to get more and more momentum, especially as the efficiency value continues to raise. There's a lot of municipalities really looking for alternatives. They don't like regular basin water or cooling towers, largely because they take a lot of gallons. That's a lot of water. It's a lot of wasted water in a year. So I see the municipalities really pushing to find alternatives to just a standard tower. And I see the potential, but I think we got to keep working on it. And I want you to be aware of it. And if y'all have feedback or if y'all have an opportunity for somebody like this, please try to reach out, have those conversations with them.
Yeah. One last thing. The real benefit of adiabatic is water savings and lower maintenance over time. So if you're looking for specific water savings, I don't care what geography, what part of the country you're in, you're going to get significant water savings.
Yeah.
I can leave you on that note.
Absolutely. All right, with that, appreciate everybody. Check out the AHR vlog going on. It's a really cool event here. MTT, take care of your family, take care of your spouse, make the time for them, please. It's a crazy industry. We get really tied up with stuff. Leave it with that.